Today's intro topic brought to you by Fat Mike. We're talking about tattoos. What are they? How do you get them? What's going on with them? What's the requirements? What do they mean? You talking about slave tattoos? Nah, not those. Those are crap. We're talking about the real tattoos from the
What's wrong
guys.
with Slade's tattoos, man?
Well,
Slave
if you,
tattoos aren't bad for what they are. They just happen to steal a slot that you could put to better use.
yeah, very much so. And they cost quite a bit, if I'm not mistaken. And you can't take them off without dying.
True.
They're permanent?
Yes, until you die.
Really?
No
Yeah.
uncurse, no remove, and yes. Well, they're not really expensive. They only cost like $10,000.
Oh, I mean, that's expensive for what they do. You know, I mean, you could go to the Hamlet and get gear that's way better.
Yeah, I think maybe we should change that and make the tattoos where they crumble after a while and you have to rebuy them, but make them like decent. Make them to where it's something that you might want to wear.
Like a decent piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I can see that. That would
I
make
don't know
sense
why
to me.
we would do that, but I mean, that would at least make them not useless.
I guess they were useful once upon a time.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Yeah, so
No, they
But-
weren't. I mean, for example, I mean, there was a time where I think you could put them onto any particular body part, but that's gone. Now they're basically restricted to the arm slot, and there are a lot of better arm slots.
Do the immortal tattoos have their own slot?
Yes.
yeah.
So what might be cool is if you took Slade's tattoos and let them actually apply to the tattoo slot, you know, to wear that until, you know, maybe one day you got blessed with an immortal tattoo.
Not going to happen.
Not
It's
ever
been
going to happen.
It's been said by the M's on more than one occasion that's not going to happen.
Okay. What was there any information to go with that, or is it just a no?
No, just tattoos are tattoos, and if you want a tattoo, buy a tattoo. That's fine, but the tattoo slot is for immortal tattoos only.
Gotcha.
It's for those who go above and beyond for their religion.
Much like the new dragon slots are for dragons.
What is going above and beyond for their? I mean, how would somebody go above and beyond for greed?
They would be greedy.
What is okay? What does that mean?
I think that can mean different things. Honestly, I mean, because a lot of people, whenever they come up to my character, the dragon of greed, they offer me things like gold. And sure, that's all fine and dandy. Some people want gold, but some people want other things. Some people are greedy in other ways. Like my character, the way I portray him, has enough gold. He doesn't need gold. He always wants more gold, but if you really want to entice him, you're going to have to do something. And it's typically not a material object that he wants. He wants you to somehow compromise yourself. Basically, he wants you to be greedy and compromise to the point where you compromise yourself. Something that you hold dear or something that is inherent to your personality, you'll compromise it to get what you want. And that's
Like
what my character. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I was going to say almost kind of like literally giving your left leg in order to get something.
Yes, yeah. Somehow,
But
yes.
if you're greedy, why would you give anything to get anything? Shouldn't it just be about getting? What is all this compromise and giving? Because in my opinion, greed, there is no compromise. I'm getting
No,
mine.
it's not a compromise. You're getting the better end of the deal. If you gave me a nickel to get $100 bill, would you give me a nickel?
It's as the immortal, I don't think it's my job to be like, oh, give me all your gold and give me your precious jewels and your chests and your fancy items. To me, it's more like, if you're the god of greed, you would spread that greed. And how would you do that? You would make people, like I said, pretty much give up whatever they can to get what they really want. I mean, for instance, a good example is there was one point where I was trying to get Burston, the warlord mortal leader, he wanted something. He wanted power, is what he wanted. It's very vague, but that's what he wanted. And in order to get power, I told him, then you would have to help your greatest enemy. And in helping his greatest enemy, that was really going to screw him over. He didn't know that, but you don't help people that you're in a I can't think of the damn word for it.
Vendetta?
Yes, you're in I can't say it now either.
Vendetta.
Vendetta. Yeah, vendetta. You can't help people that you're in a vendetta with. I mean, if they're like a newbie and you're just trying to, help them along, and that's something different. But like actually like helping them achieve some kind of goal, no, of course not. You're not supposed to do that. And so he was basically compromising his position in War Master by getting this power that he wanted, but he didn't really understand that at the time because I didn't really explain that to him. I just said, hey, if you want this, you're going to have to do this.
And he just
So anyways,
bought it. Hook, line, and sinker.
How this goes back to tattoos is, to me, I don't look at the characters I've given tattoos. I don't just look at as, hey, they want all the gold in the world, or hey, they want all of this. It's, they're never satisfied. They're always trying to weasel, so to speak, their way into getting more stuff.
Does it have to be
More
weaseling?
stuff or no, it doesn't have to be weaseling. I mean, it can be very blatant. I'm just saying, like, it's just they're never sated, I guess.
Sure.
But that's as far as greed. But I would say the other religions is the best way to get a tattoo, in my opinion, and this is really not just my opinion, but is to embody the religion. To be everything that the religious file says. And if you feel like that you are everything that your religious file states you to be, and you're playing that character as you should, and you're not getting a tattoo, then at that point you really need to bring it up to the immortal who is over that religion and say, hey, what do you feel like I'm doing wrong? Because, all the help files are, while they're written in plain English and black and white, they're up to interpretation. And I think we've seen that with like help neutral, and what neutral actually means versus what the help file says, because I'm not exactly sure what the help file says specifically, but I don't know that it really matches up with the way that neutral is treated in FL, because the help file was written before FL. I assume.
And in these sense, yeah.
And so, it's interpreted different. And so that's why I say if you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're not getting you're not getting anywhere, then I would talk to the immortal and see what they actually, require, or what they're looking for. What kind of qualities they're looking for. So, and typically you're going to get an answer back, and more often than not you should anyways. If you don't, well, then that's obviously you should have a conversation with someone else higher above them.
Do you have to apply for a tattoo?
In the help file, I believe it says to apply for a tattoo.
Yeah.
But
is that true? Is that not true?
I've never applied for a tattoo. I've been given one, but I've never applied for one. And honestly, the people who have applied for them, I've seen a lot of them, the application just kind of falls off. They don't actually get the tattoo. They might later on, but I would say that applying is good because it lets them know that hey, watch me. I feel like I embody this religion, because there's a lot of characters. There's players, and each player could have 2 or 3 characters, and so it's hard to keep track of. And not every single mortal reads every single journal or note or log. So, you know, it's at least gets you on the radar when you apply. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get tattooed as you apply.
Right. I imagine by applying, I'm now on the probationary period or whatever. If I'm being looked at, I'm in the observational period. It's like me raising my hand, say, "Look at me. I am exemplifying my religion, and I would like to be recognized for that."
Yeah. I mean,
if you weren't already.
Right. Which, what do you think is a good time period for getting a tattoo? Like, how long is there an expectation of how long a character needs to have been around before they will be considered for a tattoo?
No. But I would say the longer your character is and the more established, the more, the better chance you have to get it anyways.
What do you mean by established?
I mean, like, established, I mean, like, you're established in the game. People know who your character is, whether that's good or bad. And you might be in a cabal, and you might be a trusted or whatever, maybe not. But I would say just have some longevity to your character.
What if you're in a time zone where nobody else is ever on, and you're kind of playing alone? Are those kind of people kind of bonered by that whole scenario?
Yeah, well, that's difficult, obviously. The problem is that, like, if you are in that time zone, it's up to you to really make yourself seen more. Should we have an immortal in that time zone? I think so. But, it's reality of the situation is we may or may not. And so it's up to you to make it seem more. And, like, for instance, if there's someone that is greed religion and they play whenever I'm asleep, how am I going to know about them if I don't see anything from them?
They could post RP logs in the prayer forum.
Yes, exactly. They can. Some people don't want to mess with that.
That's their own fault.
And unfortunately, the only thing I can say to that is, yeah, if you want these things, you have to go through what it takes to get them. And that's just a part of it, because I can't be on at 2 a.m. while I'm asleep.
Yeah. That's understandable.
But other immortals can watch you and report back if they're on at that time. So,
immortal communication might be key. Like, hey, you could, if somebody put in an application for the greed tattoo and you're not going to be around for a while, you could, tell your other immortal homies, like, hey, watch this dude. He applied for a tattoo. I can't be around to really monitor it. We all keep a snoop on him and see what he's got going on, type of thing.
And that happens.
There's
some communication there.
Like, you have to have a history put in to be considered for elder. Is that true? In a cabal elder?
I don't know if that's written somewhere, but I've had elder and leader in a cabal that didn't have a history.
And I don't know. I want to say it's written somewhere, because I want to say that I read that directly somewhere, that in order to be elder or leader, you have to have history. I'm not sure where. If somebody can find that. I believe
it is. I believe it is written somewhere. I think I've read that, but if it is, it's very loosely followed.
Do you think it should be more tightly followed? Because I personally do. I think elder and leader standards for, like, RP, all character, a fully developed character that's like a character. I think the RP standards should be way higher.
Yeah, they should be, and they typically are. In fact, there's what I've noticed is that there's kind of like this set of rules for elders and especially leaders where you can't do certain things, like things that would be considered trashy to some. Like, for instance, if you're a Dark Knight and there's like a War Master's just dueled and you were sitting outside the area and you ran in and you fireballed, I'm not saying that you would get in trouble for that, but I can see how you would get talked to for that.
Mm.
So yeah, the way that you conduct yourself as an elder or leader, and it also depends on what your cabal is and there's obviously other factors involved. It's not just black and white, but yeah, you're held to a higher standard, similar to like Q race, Q class. They're held to a higher standard of roleplay, and so if they do certain things that are trashy, they can, and I've seen them get in trouble for it, or at least not in trouble, but getting a conversation. There would be a conversation about it.
Would you consider an elder bountying an inductee of the opposing cabal as trashy?
No, I wouldn't. My thing with that is just because that you're an elder doesn't mean that you can defeat that inductee.
What if the
It
War
might
Master
just
inductee?
No,
Okay.
I
Fair
don't.
enough.
I think it all depends on the situation. I mean, it's just most of this stuff is just situational, and
It
it
should
can't.
depend on the savant, right? Like if it's a savant elder that does it, say I could imagine an evil savant elder doing that, but if you're a good aligned savant elder and you put a bounty on, like, let's say a neutral War Master inductee, would that be different?
Yeah, I think that there would be a problem there, but that's just me. That's kind of just my opinion. There is
Sure.
no rules stating that goods can't bounty a neutral in an opposing cabal and a vendetta cabal. But me personally, I don't think good should bounty anyone. But then that's the way I'd play a good. That's not necessarily a way that someone else would play a good. I think that's also subjective. Like, for instance, an avatar I think it's perfectly fine for them to bounty a evil character, because they basically want everything evil to die, right? I mean, that's their whole mission in life, is to basically eradicate evil, and one tool to do that would be a bounty hunter.
Okay, but what if the bounty hunter is evil himself? You're paying evil to kill evil. Is that good? You know?
It's still in that game for the avatar.
Yeah, I don't think the avatar cares about the method in which evil dies. I think they just want evil to die. And the way they probably would look at it is, well, the only hunter is evil, and the guy I'm sending him after is evil, so one of them's going to die. Either way, I benefit. Or, like Magick said, I'll take out the other.
Okay.
I'll take out the leftover. So that's...
rewarding evil to kill evil is good.
No, that's not what I said. I said an extremist like an avatar, I could see how that would be fine. With a goodie, and I'm not saying that goodies, even non-avatars, can't bounty evils or vendetta cabals. I'm just saying, me personally, my belief is that they shouldn't. It all depends on the situation in which the goodie does it.
Sure. All very situational.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is situational, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think there's some complaints about that. Because it is so situational, and then different immortals have different opinions on how that should go. And that's just, good standards really would solve those issues.
Yeah. No, I agree that the back and forth on, like, oh, well, this is neutral and that's not neutral, or this is, it's, I personally would like to see that cleaned up a bit and be more solidified.
I think that it would help to kind of for the help file to be updated for sure. So I think all the help files that are out of date should be updated. That's a major task, obviously. And, you really have to be on the same page, because the immortal who's deciding this thing might not be the immortal who is actually doing the help file. And so it's not just going to take one immortal to update all these help files, because you might put something in the help file that, another immortal doesn't want, for instance. And that's kind of like, I started doing a bunch of help files and fixing typos and stuff, and I was told you can fix typos and things like that, but don't actually like alter the information in the help files, because, well, that's kind of a discussion. You need to have a discussion about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
But back to Elder and history, Elder and Leader and histories. I think that it makes sense to have a history as an Elder or a Leader because you are held to that higher standard of role play. But also, there's people that get different things out of this game. There's people that aren't into role play and they do the minimum role play, which is fine if that's what you're into. But I don't think that you should necessarily require a history because, maybe they're not good at writing. Does that mean they shouldn't be an Elder if they earn that?
Yeah. I mean, I personally think that if you have very loose RP and all that, no, you shouldn't be an Elder. Because this is an RP. This is an example of PK taking precedence over RP right there, like what you just said. And that's something I have an issue with.
Do you have an issue with RP taking over PK?
No, the other way around. He has an issue with PK taking over RP, and if you don't have any history, and if you have, basically a flimsy backstory and all that sort of thing, then the way he's saying it is you've created your character as a PK character and happen to get Elder or Leader in that regard.
Yeah, I personally don't see a problem with that because, like I said, different people get different things out of the game, and I might be a more roleplay oriented character. I'm just saying the opposite. Do you have a problem with a roleplay oriented character and that doesn't do very much PK and getting an Elder or Leader?
It depends. It depends on the Cabal. That totally depends on the Cabal.
I don't think it should.
Because, I mean, in my opinion, good writing, a good, well-developed character that interacts well in the world, I think that should be rewarded more. Because honestly, man, that's more rare than being able to PK. Like anybody can PK. When the stars align, it can happen. And that's just there's a million PvP games out there. People can get good at it in any amount of time. But good RP and like actually enriching the world, because with good RP, you can leave a permanent mark on the story of Aabahran, and that's more important. Like your PK record will be forgotten over time.
Well, the other thing is you don't necessarily have to have a good history. You just need to have a history.
Well, okay, so here's also the thing. You don't need to have a history. You don't need to have a journals. You don't need to have logs even. I mean, if you don't want to put logs, you don't have to have any of that stuff as long as you're role playing. Like if you're talking to another character, then you just role play. And as long as you role play, you don't need notes, you don't need journals, you don't need the history. You still have role play, and that is what is enforced. You have to role play. That doesn't mean that you have to have journals and notes and histories. So, like, the people that aren't into the writing aspect, the creative writing, which is exactly what it is, or in the way that Wade coins it, homework, you don't have to have that, in my opinion, to get Elder or Leader. And I don't think that you should. Now, that's not necessarily the opinion of the entire staff. That would have to be a conversation that we would have to have. But I think in the help file, it states that you need it. I will say that Erithil, my half-elf necromancer, did not have a history when I was Elder or Leader. I didn't have a history until I was almost Lich, and then I wrote my history out. I had several journals that had history events in them, but I didn't actually have the history written out. So
I just think that RP should be as much of a deal as PK is, because like I said, this is a very PK friendly thing. Because you're saying like you can skate around FL with minimal RP, but you can't really skate around it without getting involved in PK.
I'm not saying minimal RP. What I mean is that you don't have to do journals, notes, and the history in order to role play. You can still role play your character. You can still talk to people day to day and role play that way.
But you do have to PK unless you want to be a mailman or a salesman, and that's ridiculous.
No, you don't. You don't have to PK. You do have to do minimum PK because your Cabal is probably vendetta with someone, so you have to at least do that. I mean, with my Drow Necromancer, I didn't PK very much. The PK I did do was with Knight for the most part, unless someone attacked me. I didn't attack anyone just out of the blue. After I became Lich, I did. There was a couple people that I attacked, but before I was Lich, as even the leader of Nexus, I never attacked anyone at all. Unless, of course, you were a knight, and I was vendetted with you, and there was really no choice there. But even then, I would bounty people, not because I wanted their equipment, but more because, well, I didn't want to fight them, and I was hoping that the Syndicate would fight them instead.
What pisses me off is how when somebody brings up the idea of a more RP heavy thing, the first thing everybody always jumps to is like, well, Herald and Merchant exist. Like, stop saying that, man. We fucking know that exists. We know shit that exists. But it's like that is such a box of options. That'll be uncaballed, which means you're not really gonna get anywhere. You're not gonna have anything. You know, like you're gonna get picked on if you're uncaballed.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, are you gonna be as competitive? Probably not. Cabals have some powerful skills, but the thing is if you want a roleplay character, you're not really going to be worried about that PK aspect, are you?
No, but you would like to have something to maybe adventure with, because PvE is a thing. You know, like maybe you want to just explore and have adventure things without having to be a fucking herald. Okay, that's
you can do that. You can do that without being a herald, and you can also do that without being a merchant. What's to stop you?
In what Cabal? I'm talking about having a Cabal skill, like a group of people to hang out with and get Cabal. You know, do Cabal stuff because it's fun to be a part of the Cabal. I'm just saying the options for it are limited. There's all these hard-coded Vendetta PK Cabals, but there's only a couple of non-PK Cabals. And I know, you know, Aabahran is a dangerous place and all that. I get that. But so it would be nice to branch out after 20 years.
You can join the clan and have that camaraderie there and not have to join the Cabal and enjoy virtually the same benefits.
Yeah, so also
virtually, but not actually.
So we're not talking about histories or tattoos at this point, right? We're talking about the thread where, you know, they want to roleplay tier, right? Is that what we're going to?
That's what I'm transitioning to.
Okay, so as far as that's concerned, the problem with the Cabal and having roleplay tier characters in a Cabal is that Cabals are driven by PK. The skills are PK, with the exception of Herald and Merchant. So, yeah, well, actually what Volgathris brought up was not a bad idea. Adventurer Cabal.
That's exactly, I've said that. I think I said that to you, Rygo, when we first started talking about Herald. I said, there should be an Adventurer Cabal. You know, so that it's like a group of adventurers, and it goes to 50. You can be any class you want, okay? Yeah. So you can learn the class, so you can play a class without having to get thrown into the deep end right off the bat at 50, because at 50 is a ruthless place. And I think...
Okay, yeah. I mean,
20 years of callousness from us playing this game, we aren't even seeing that anymore, you know, because we're so used to it. But it's like, it's really, really, really disheartening for a new player to just get absolutely wrecked and realize how shitty they are.
There's a lot of real life situations that are the same way. You know, like military. You join the military, expect to get F with it.
Real life. I thought we didn't compare FL to real life.
We don't. Whenever we're talking about realism here, but I mean, we're talking about, you know, you're talking about real life right now. You're talking about players being, you know, shitty towards other players, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right?
Well, not necessarily. I'm talking about enjoyability factors, because some people would like to play this game and like be able to play it in a way that, because like I'd like to log on, dude, and not have to be paranoid typing aware every 2 seconds. Like I would play that tier so that I could hang out. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes or talk shit or anything. I'd love to hang out on the game without having to be sitting directly at my computer all the time. I'd like to be able to get up, you know, if I want to.
Well, then you're not really playing, which is, you know, you're idling at that point, which is against the rules.
That's not true, because it's only idling if you're on live support without being there. If I sit there and walk away from my computer, so like that's bullshit.
You're right. Yeah, if you got triggers and shit going on and you walk away from your computer and let it do it, that's against the rules. But I guess idling is not really against the rules. But
No, it's not.
so here's the thing: the adventure cabal idea is a good idea, but whenever we're talking about the other cabals, you're talking about having PK driven cabals with characters that don't PK in them.
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not at all
But
what I mean.
no, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
and I'm telling you why it's a bad idea. Even in like Syndicate and with Syndicate and Merchant, it's the rules are very hazy. They're not hazy to me, but to some new players or some new people to Syndicate and Merchant, the rules are hazy as far as what a merchant can and can't do in a PK situation. So a merchant is not affected by like the standard getting taken. Their skills don't drop like Syndicate does. And they often wonder, hey, do I attack or do I not attack? I guess this would all be kind of ironed out if we did. So maybe my point is kind of moot, but it just doesn't make sense to me to have roleplay characters in a PK-oriented cabal because they're just sitting there and they're talking trash to this other cabal, and to me it doesn't make sense.
No, I can agree with that. I agree with that. That's I'm if you join a combative cabal, you should expect to have to PK. I get that. But something like an adventurer cabal or allowing the non-PK tier, because a big point of the non-PK tier was that you couldn't even wear rares. You know, like not hogging the rare count. Just having something so you can play a class, skills, see what it's like, hang out with your buddies, and explore shit. You know, I don't see how that would hurt the game to just have that option, because people that want to PK can still totally PK. And guess what?
I don't know. You're breaking up pretty bad, but I think some people think that what it does is it takes the identity of what this game is, which is PK and roleplay enforced game, and it turns it into something completely different where you have characters that aren't involved in PK whatsoever at all running around, and they're afraid that that's going to take up, you know, for instance, like if I had a choice of playing a roleplay only character, I would probably do it.
I hold the same views, largely the same views as Rygo there. If you have a PK, an RP tier, and especially if it's in a cabal, you're just having somebody that's taking up a slot that could be more active in the cabal, potentially trash talking, getting all the benefits and none of the drawbacks.
Right, but that's obviously something that would be either through, would not be allowed. Obviously, that'd have to be circumvented, because that would obviously be a huge no-no.
There would have to be like a whole set of rules around that. Like you can only have so many roleplay tier characters in a cabal, so they don't take up all the PK slots. Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if they should be able to join active Vendetta having cabals either. I don't see. I don't think that's ever what the purpose of it was.
No, as stated on the forum, it's one of those where they should not have cabal, or if it were to be implemented, they should not be in a cabal. They should not hold rares, etc.
Yeah, and which is, and again, I think maybe the Academy, Herald, sure, let them join that. Maybe I guess they wouldn't touch rares, so not merchant, but an adventurer cabal type thing. That would be okay for them to join.
You know what? We actually do have something similar to that now, thinking about it. It's just not used for a variety of reasons. And that is the level 51. That's the heroes.
I applied for hero once on Herald of mine, and I don't know if they were just telling me no in a special way, but a new mate told me that they don't have heroes anymore, and they're not doing it anymore. That's what I was told.
Pretty much, yes. I mean, if we had like a larger P base, where we had 30 people on at a time consistently throughout the day, then the staff would probably be more open for heroes and more heroes. But you kind of need that players in order to have that kind of thing going on.
Yeah, that basically goes back to there's just not enough players, and that's why they don't do it currently. Which is one way that's already in place to do what this roleplay tier. But
The roleplay tier itself might actually bring players.
yeah, I mean, Volgathris in the podcast chat brought up a point of why they're not really used, and yeah, I don't know. He said they're a good example of how a PK tier wouldn't work. They aren't used because they couldn't PK anyone, were bored, could irritate people without repercussions.
I mean, is there a history of that happening? Them irritating people without repercussions?
I assume from what him saying is there is, yeah.
It kind of depends on what you define as irritation. I mean, it would be within the bounds of the rules, obviously, but because they're heroes, they would be scrutinized by the Imps a hell of a lot more. So they wouldn't sit there and go off and just pop off at you randomly or go at a character or something like that, where a non-PK tier would be largely unchecked if there were so many of them. I say largely unchecked, but you know what I mean. Yeah, and people could blatantly go out of character and abuse that kind of privilege.
Yeah, so my question is this: what was the intent of the non-PK tier? Was that for characters to be able to roleplay without having to worry about PK repercussions, or was that to give new players a way to learn the game without having to worry about PK repercussions? I mean, what was it?
For both.
If it's the latter, we have things available now to do that.
Sure.
I mean, the adventure tier, for example, yeah, granted that goes up to 30, it doesn't go up to 50 entirely, but that's enough to get what you need done, to learn the commands, to learn most of the land, and a vast majority of the areas you can walk to as a 30.
Me personally. Go ahead. Sorry, Magick.
No. I'm pretty well done with that. I mean, it's the point where, yeah.
Well, what I would say is I wouldn't mind seeing the adventurer class go up to 50, but at a certain point, it stops. The thing you would have to kind of regulate it, because a lot of times people do adventurer because of the benefits. Even if the benefit is only 10 hit points, there's still benefit there. And if you did it up to 50, then there could be more benefits, and people would take that path just to get those benefits. So I think at some point you need to cut those benefits off. But I think adventure at level 50 is not a bad idea, especially for new players, because they can do that, and they can learn that, and then give it an hour. Like once it hits 80 hours at, level 50, then, or however many hours, it's just an example, then they have to go back to 1 and pick a class.
Well, it's currently 80 hours for adventure here. If we were to put it to 50, and I could be persuaded, I think that for every level you go past 80 or past 30, your timer reduces. I mean, that could be a way to go about it.
I guess we would have to look at how long it really takes for a new player to learn whenever they're not in PK environment.
It depends on if they're new to the game or they're new to MUDs. Because somebody that's never played a MUD before is going to have a hard time, dude. Like a way harder time than I think we're giving them credit for,
I think that all depends on mentorship, I think.
I mean, do you remember the first time you played a MUD?
I don't. It was way too long ago.
Okay, I do, and I remember it being very rough because it was a very long time ago. But I remember.
But did you have someone walking you through that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I did.
There's a lot of help.
I had the same issues that you had.
But like adventurer tier right now is not helping newbies. It's helping veterans get a few more hit points. That's all it's doing right now.
No, well, kind of. It does help newbies in the fact that once they hit 15, they are not, or excuse me, once they hit 10 or 30,000 experience, they aren't in PK range, and that's kind of what's there to protect them. And they have a skill set specifically made to help you explore.
Imagine this. Imagine getting the option, instead of there being an adventurer class, imagine having the option to have an adventurer tier that when you choose it, you get put in an adventurer clan to later, when you level up, be put into an adventurer cabal that kind of gives you a blanket to play with. And when you choose this, you can't remort out of this.
And so I've got to find food instead of, hey, I'm hungry and thirsty and I got to find food before I die.
But anyway, imagine there being, like, you're selecting the tier at the beginning, and then you can just pick a regular class, whatever class you want. But now, you're on the adventurer tier, so you don't have to worry about PK stuff. You only worry about adventuring. Granted, you won't be able to wear rares or anything like that. But you can actually get to 50 and maybe join an adventurer cabal that gives you some skills that help you further learn the game, like the deep parts of the game.
You don't need a taste of what the classes do. In my opinion, you don't need that. You can learn that whenever you pick the class.
Right.
But you learn the basic skills and the basic commands. You learn, hey, I need to consider this mob to see if it's going to kill me or not. See if I can even, that's one of the first commands that I taught my buddy Philip that has started to play was, hey, you got to look at this mob and you got to consider the mob because it tells you whether you have a chance to kill it, because some of these mobs are going to absolutely destroy you.
And where is Philip now?
Where's Philip now? I don't know. He's sick at home. He has some kind of stomach bug.
Does he still play FL?
Yes, he does. But he's it's a complicated situation. His wife has some health issues, but he's like level 5, I think. But I spent about 2 hours with him just talking to him about the basic commands and how to navigate and go around. And I'm not even close to being where I need to be with him. But I told him to go through the entirety of Mud School now that he already knew some of the basic stuff. Because maybe there was something I was forgetting.
Yeah, well, with things like that, it would be easier if the game basically held your hand going around, move this direction, go this direction, take a look at this command. Get away from the mass reading of the help files, because that's what I did when I first joined. I had nobody to tutor me, and so I was left with trying to figure out what to do and where to go. The closest I had gotten to it was a similar game a friend was playing some 4 years previous, and he was sitting there typing north in order to go north. It was kind of like it was kind of more like Zork in that regard. But yeah, having a Mud School hold your hand through that in order to do it, rather than a physical person or a friend communicating with you for that. Get away from the reading, do more of the doing.
Yeah, and I think that whatever is going on with the Mud School, that needs to happen. But I guess it can't with The thing is I thought about, should a brand new player that comes in be assigned a mentor of some kind? But the problem with that is, the staff is volunteer staff. And so we don't know if we can carve out time to, play. It took Philip, and I had talked about him getting started, and I warned him. I said, dude, you're going to get your ass beat constantly. It's going to suck. Do you really want to do this? And he said, yes. And so, but it took us probably a week or two after that before we could actually meet up for a 2-hour period to really discuss and do character creation and I basically gave him ideas,
Yeah, which is where the Mud needs to do it for us rather than having an assignment.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the job of the new Mud School.
Additionally, I do like what Lockwood said about the new Mud School, or his vision of it, where you basically build your class too. You go in, you type in your name, you come up with a name, poof, you're in the school. It teaches you how to do it. You create your class as you go along to help you along with that, and so on and so forth. If you're a veteran, obviously you can go ahead and just skip all that. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you.
Character
Because
creation's easy.
character creation is so easy and kind of straightforward. There are some things that I think it gets kind of confusing whenever we're talking about the tiers, the PK tiers,
Well,
but otherwise
yeah.
people have no issue with the actual creation of characters.
Well, see, that's where I disagree. Is some people would have issues with the character creation being completely new to these types of games, and for them, you would need to hold their hand. I mean,
Maybe.
you can always put in shortcuts for those who are more aware of what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean,
Pose the question at the very beginning. As soon as you put in your name and password, ask the question: are you new to this game? You know,
The easiest way you're going to be able, well, you could do that. You could have a potential for abuse on that, depending on how it's set up. But assuming things are fine, yeah, that would be great, and it would go in and basically teach you what the races are and so on and so forth. Whereas, oh, that's my train of thought there.
I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah,
you would need a lot of handholding for those types of people.
yeah. Well, hopefully the mud school covers that. I mean, and that's kind of all we can hope is that the staff nails it and gets it right, and it's very useful for especially new players.
Yeah.
But until then, it's I think new players really need some kind of mentor. And obviously, I think a lot of times new players don't just come here. I assume it's probably rare that like a new player comes here and it picked, one mud out of thousands of muds, and that this just happened to be it, and they're here.
That's literally how I got here. That is literally how I found this mud.
Yeah, but also whenever you found this muds were a lot more popular, I assume, and there were a lot more players here, right?
Not actually. I've seen a lot more players recently on than I have in a very long time.
But I guarantee you, well, I'm talking about whenever you first started.
I know, I am too. I'm talking about this is maybe 05 or so is when I started. I joined the forums in January of 06. But I think I started playing the game actually in 05. And to find this game, I went to themudconnector.com. I went to their advanced search, and I wanted a game that had it was role playing enforced, that had PK, and that was it. I think that's what I put in, and this popped up. Actually, and I tried out several ones, and what turned me off to the other ones was the way it looked, just like the aesthetic of it. I was like, nah, man, this sucks. One thing that FL has that I think a lot of us take for granted maybe is, or I don't know if we take it for granted, but as far as muds go, it looks really, 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 really clean. Like it is very well, like it looks great. It's 100% on that level.
Yeah, a lot of that's color. A lot of that because a lot of color is left out of the game.
Oh my God, I've been in some muds before where you walk up and you have a butterfly with all these special characters on it, and it's a fucking rainbow, and it's just horrible.
Yeah, God Wars muds, which I don't mind. I think God Wars muds are fun as hell. But however,
I don't know. I think you're the minority there, though, in that you came here out of the blue. I think most people probably some friends brought them here, and hey, check this out, and then that's how they got started. I would assume that's how I got started.
Word of mouth is by far the best way to sell something.
And so, with that being said, as of right now, without a mud school, the best way is to have some kind of mentor, someone to show you. And, I think some players have good intentions of bringing people here, but then they get kind of left behind at some point.
Yeah, which just shows we can't count on people to guide other people because let's get real.
I agree.
There's no way in hell the mentor thing is going to work. You can't put any more burden on the staff or anybody else here.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I think it's a good idea. It's just I don't think it's something that can be done really.
Yeah, I mean it's a what I would say a cute idea, but I mean it's not a good idea because it's not even remotely possible.
Yeah,
I'd say it's a bad idea. It's a terrible idea. Good ideas are ones that may work. That won't work. That might work, but it won't work.
It would work if someone was willing to do it.
Sure. That's true.
But
You
yeah,
know, I've heard the woes. I've heard the woes of the staff before, being, you know, there's no time, there's shit, and it's volunteer work. So it's like, to mention the idea of mentoring people on top of journals and RP, like that's ludicrous.
Is it?
You tell me. I've heard many an immortal complain about just too much on their plate, or there's too much to do. So you're gonna go ahead and throw on top mentoring a new person? No.
I'm not saying that that's what we should do. I'm saying that's not. I don't think it's a bad idea personally. But then again, I'm defending my own idea.
Sure.
So
I mean, it isn't.
I'm simply saying that it's not viable right now, especially.
Okay.
It's not viable, but
Sure.
that doesn't make it a bad idea.
Okay, let me back up. It's not a bad idea. It would work.
It's a terrible idea. What are you talking about?
Well, in my world, it's a terrible idea because it's not viable. A non-viable idea. It's a nice idea.
I'll tell you what's a bad idea is having you on a moving vehicle while we're having a podcast.
You weren't quiet there.
There he goes, robot. You're proving my point.
How do you know that my vehicle's moving?
Because I can hear it, dude.
Oh. This can all be edited out and post. What I do is I edit all my back when I'm editing this. I'm editing mostly the background noise from my track out of it.
So that's what takes you 3 days?
Yeah, that's exactly because I have to listen to the whole thing. And I have to edit out every little, like, anytime I like move a trash bag or something, you know, splash water or something, I have to fucking edit it out.
I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I do. That's how much because I give a fuck. All right.
Hey, language.
I give a dang.
All right, so I don't know where are we at. We talking about more stuff, or we done, or what's going on here?
Well, that's no way to wrap something up. If we were wrapping it up, I thought we were having a nice conversation.
Well, we were, but
we have hit the hour mark.
I don't really care how long the podcast is.
Well, neither do I. But here in the next less than 5 minutes, I'm heading out the door to get my munchkin.
All right, well, we can either wrap up right now, or we can just continue on without Magick.
We can continue on. I mean, I personally, I'm enjoying this conversation. I'm involved in this conversation now about new players, because that's something that I'd like to see. I would like to see new players, and Twin Blade says it constantly. You know, like, hey, you know, there's people that want muds that we just, you know, and I'm not saying, you know, let's cater to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, I don't like the idea of turning our nose up at the idea of adding a new feature after 20 years of death and destruction and PK, you know?
Yeah,
know what I mean?
Like I said, I actually don't, with the stipulations that I implied in the forum post that I made, you know, I don't mind having a roleplay tier. I like the idea, but it does change the whole dynamic of the game whenever you introduce that, and whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but.
Well, yeah, it changes it in the fact that, you know, you just can't get after everybody. But again, to play that tier, you'd be expected to not just run your mouth to a cabaled, you know, like a war cabal, to not run your mouth to a player like that. You know, like that. Those are things you can't do. And it's like, it's real easy to write a rule. Writing a rule is as easy as just typing it up and posting it. You know what I mean?
I think this can be fixed. This situation, we don't need a roleplay tier. I think all we need to do is what has been suggested, and that's extend adventure out to 50, give it basic skills to be able to do PvE, and then, you know, go from there. Quality of life skills like peak or sanctuary, remove curse, some of the stuff that adventurers already have.
Yeah.
Right? And adventurers can't use rare items, so you don't have to worry about rare circulation, them hoarding rares. But I think that if we do that, we need to make some decent
non-rare items. Decent non-rare items.
Well, that. But that kind of works hand in hand with the moderate tier too.
Sure. And there's some non-rares that could be, like, personally, I don't see why non-rares have to be anti-good or anti-evil or anti-whatever. You know, like, it's non-rare. Who gives a damn? Let anybody wear
Well,
that shit.
though, doing it that way helps give it more points in order to compete more with the rares.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does. But it's like, who's going to actually wear that shit when there's something better?
Well, kind of depends on the slot and what tier you are.
I'm gonna go ahead and say right now, blue magi gear. That's good only. Would there
Right.
be anything? I mean, would opening that up to all alignments really throw anything off or hurt anything?
Well, it would drop at 2 points right off the bat, and those 2 points is 20 hit points or 2 hit roll, 2 dam roll, one of each, that type of deal. And if you compare, and those 2 points are basically the exact same as putting a rare flag on it. Literally the same.
I just, and I know the equipment's been balanced and all that, but I mean, shouldn't there be a different scale for non-rares? Maybe just to make them like just under the quality of a rare, but still, I don't know, serviceable in some way. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the whole point of the rare flag. The rare flag has 2 points for any non-duplicate slot. So rings and neck pieces and wrists are the rare flag adds 1 point, whereas normally it would do 2, and it's not that much when you look at it with one item. It gets the gap extends when you have 10 or 15 slots that are that wide. So I mean, if a moderate has 10 rares that they can hold, or 10 rares they can wear, that means they have 10 rares 10 other slots they can't wear, which is at 2 points apiece. That's 40 points, or 20 points. 20 points is 10 hit dam, 10 hit roll, 10 dam roll, and that is a lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot. Well, taking it out. Wait, when you say taking off, okay, so the blue magi gear is good only. You said taking it off so there's open to everybody removes points, meaning it'll get weakened?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it will. I'm going to go. Just for the time being, I might pop in just a second, but my Wi-Fi, considering I'm walking away, is going to drop. So I'm on for now.
Goodbye. And it's here I am again by myself, talking to myself. That's chaos.